Chris here. I want to talk about the difference between training for sport, training for self-defense. Most of the schools out here in the U.S. right now, they train for sport. You're training for tournaments. You're training for matches. Um, that could be points. That could be forms. That could be full contact. Sport will help you a lot. You're going to get fit, and you will never be upset in a self-defense situation to be more fit, to be stronger, faster, have more endurance. All that's going to help. You will never be upset in a self-defense situation if you know how to give harder blows or to take them. These are things that sports will do well for you. Sports are fun, but sports doesn't cover everything you need to know for self-defense. And this is really important. In sports, you train for one-on-one fight against someone who's squared up against you. You have a good idea of what they're going to do against you. There's techniques that are off limit. You know that people are not going to run it. You're not going to be dealing with 3 or 4 people jumping you while you're halfway out of your car. You're not going to be fighting on stairs. Like, there's all these things that are not going to happen in a sports situation. And that's stuff that you need in a self-defense training mode. And so if you do sports, sports martial art, and you do want to focus more on self-defense, these are the kind of skills you're going to have to train for and develop drills and work with people to get. When you are doing self-defense, you want to cover multiple opponents, weapons, having them used against you, using weapons on others. And this includes knives, sticks, and things that people understand to be weapons, but this also includes stuff like chairs or some random object in your pocket and figuring out how to makeshift weapons if you need to. Self-defense includes being in weird positions in bad places. What happens if someone's already got you grabbed? What happens if your jacket's halfway off when someone decides to try and tackle you? Really weird situations, because ultimately self-defense is very often how do I adapt to things constantly going wrong? So those are things you're going to want to cover. Major one is stress. This is the key part of what I consider to be self-defense training, is how we drill our skills and how we teach you to deal with stress. You can see in the news all these situations where you'll have someone who's an expert at some martial art. They get jumped in an alley and they couldn't do nothing. Stress got too high, they lost all their skills. You also hear about, very rarely, a situation where you have a 14-year-old kid or a 90-year-old woman who knows judo, and they throw someone down, they lock them up, and they just beat down some aggressive robber. And that situation is the opposite. They've gotten their skills in deep enough that it'll come out even in stress. And so the way you do that is not just train, it's how you train. So when you are stress training, you start with very simple drills that are low stress. And as your skill goes up, we keep adding stuff that increases your stress levels. And at the point when you can operate under a very high stress situation, you have skills that will be effective in a self-defense situation. But if you try to jump in at the high end when you don't have those skills embedded deep enough, you just fall back to your old instincts. And this is not just something I'm making up. You can actually see several situations in places where this is what's employed, and you get that. When you see boxers go into the ring, they don't flail. They don't fall back into flailing. Why is that? Well, they spend most of their time doing conditioning and drills, and only a little bit of their time actually doing sparring. Because sparring is the higher stress situation where you have to completely adapt and completely take and give hits. But before they get there, there's tons of drills that they do so that the instincts are in there before they get to that. Same thing if you look at military. Military, when they do close quarter stuff, it's always, let's all get everyone lined up, and then they'll all do the same moves. 1, 2, 3, throw the person. 1, 2, 3, throw the person. As the thing where they start. Get the technique, increase the stress until someone can do it full free sparring. This is in sharp contrast to a lot of places where what they try and do is get you sparring right away and all the time. And the problem is, you'll learn to give strong hits and take strong hits because that's what you have to do, but it's not going to give you good technique. It's learning the slowest and hardest way possible. Pain should be a useful reminder only at the worst case scenario. It shouldn't be your first way of learning. You know, in the same sense, like people telling you not to put your hand on the hot oven is better than putting your hand on the hot oven and learning that way. And this applies outside of martial arts too. If you learn CPR, you learn on the dummy. The plastic dummy starts you off, and you take your time. You can stop, ask questions, start over. You know, you can do that over and over and learn your CPR through the dummy relatively at your own pace. Once you get up to EMT, or you're trying to be a first responder in an emergency, they will start running you through scenarios where, like, you come into the room and they've set something up to be on fire. There's an actor there panicking in front of you, and then there's the dummy laid out. So it's like you got to do CPR. Well, all these things are happening, and you only have so much time. And so they start off easy, then bring you up to high difficulty. So that's just all I'm saying is, you know, if you're doing self-defense, check into what they're teaching you. You know, make sure that they cover these topics, and then also pay close attention to what you need to do for stress training. Be safe and good luck.